get into roll call. Per the city's requirements, when I say your name, state your full name and where you were joining us, or from where you were joining us. Fred?
Fred Edison from my home.
There's Kyle.
There
Kyle,
he is.
we're doing rolls, so state your full name and your location.
He has to unmute.
Kyle.
I just connected. I'm here, Kyle, attending from my home in Kalamazoo.
All right, and Tim is not with us. He is excused, but he's also stepping down. Regina?
Regina Gorham from my home in Kalamazoo.
Catherine?
Catherine White from my home in Kalamazoo.
Lene?
Lene Paul Wilson from my home in Kalamazoo.
And I'm Joshua Koenig, and I'm in my office today at Western Michigan University. All right, approval of agenda. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda?
I have no changes.
Commissioners, any changes? Pam?
I would like, Mr. Chair, to make a brief lost and found report. I've been doing some research and talking to people, and Lynn and I have had some conversations and are going to ask for a slight change to the action that you took last month.
All right, let's include that under sustainability. And since I really don't have any report tonight on any of that other than just some brief statements, you can give your report under sustainability.
Okay.
So we'll give you time in item 7H. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, introduction of guests. We have Pam.
I think I'm it. Pam O'Connor, calling in from Kalamazoo, volunteer.
Citizen comments on non-agenda items.
There are no comments at this time.
Okay. All right. Financial report. I will hand this over to Sharon and maybe Lene as well. Have you yet met with Marcy, Lene?
No, we're meeting tomorrow? Next week.
You're muted, Lene.
I'm sorry, the 18th.
There we go. So a week
Third.
from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good news though. That's forward progress. I like hearing that.
Now what?
But go ahead, Sharon.
So you can see from, I'm going to pull it up again. There we go. The financial report that Marcy gave us, the first page 2 of the report. Page 1 is just a quick, kind of report that she put in and put it in very plain language for us. Okay.
Mhm.
And then the next page explains what some of the terms mean. And that's something that I had not seen before. I told her that's what we needed. That explains what this means to us and whether we need to pay attention to it. Is it relevant? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So page 1 of her report is just the fact that we have $6,858.73 in our available fund balance after money being transferred to the O'Connor Fund.
Mhm.
Okay. Our budget has not been officially loaded yet because we haven't officially approved it yet. So once we do that, then she'll be able to give us stuff that's a little bit more up to date for what we currently have. I mean, the amounts aren't going to change. We haven't had any things that have been sent in that she hasn't already accounted for here, but it'll just mean that we'll be up to date and with everything loaded properly in advance.
Mhm.
And then, that gives you, then the budget is page 3 of the report. So I'm going to, if you want, I can shorten this list with the blue stripes on it so that it doesn't include the Jeffress and the Enelli Fountain, because those are really, they still exist as accounts for us, but we're not going to be using them because they've been emptied out. So, and I can just synopsize this and make this a part of what goes out with the packets if we need it for a meeting. So I can say, just if we get the report from Marcy and we can say, okay, this is what these terms mean, just as a reminder, so that it's there. The same way that we've been putting the work plan on the back of the agenda for so long. That way it's always there as a reference point in the meeting. So does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, I think so.
I like that idea too. I think we went long enough without quite knowing what all the lines were, or maybe them changing the language, that it's we don't know them well enough yet. So I think it would be good to add them in.
Exactly. So I figure I'll just shorten that up a little bit, and then we'll know what's relevant and what's not relevant each month. We'll be able to figure it out. And so we've got our meeting set up, yay. And it'll be a Zoom meeting so we can actually see each other's faces. So I really like that. So there will probably be a report next month, maybe with a little more detail. And then any questions that we have from Marcy, maybe she'll probably get back to us with a report on it, on anything we really need. So.
Okay. I'm looking over this real quickly one more time. Okay. Then I'll ask the commissioners, I'll ask you all, do you want to wait until after the meeting between Lene, Sharon, Marcy, and if I can make it possibly myself, to approve the budget, or does this clarify things enough for you all? Because the third page of the budget, or the third page of the financial report has been clarified as well with some of our questions from last time in terms of the budget year to date, the projection, and then the proposed for 2021. Because I know that was some of the questions that people had last month. So are people comfortable voting on the way late budget now, or do you want to wait until next month for after the meeting?
Either way is fine with me. I guess I don't have a opinion one way or the other.
I don't, just for my comfort level, I would prefer to wait, but I mean, this is more detailed than what we had last time. So if we vote to approve it for today, I'm okay with it. But just personally, I would prefer to wait until I can get some questions answered. But
okay. Do y'all want to wait? I mean, it's fine with me if you wait.
What's another month, right?
Right?
Yeah.
At this point in time, I mean, this was supposed to be done in June. So, yeah.
Oh, no, and it's September or so, but still, yes.
Yeah, and at this point, if we can solidify what's going on, we should be able to skate through September of this year. So we won't have to wait so long.
No, we'll start again in July. So
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, we'll just do it again in July, but that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Okay, then we will put let's make sure to put on next month's agenda the budget vote then. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the financial report?
Just glad to see it. And I'm glad that Lene is going to be able to get some questions answered.
Yeah. Okay, moving to action and discussion items. Sharon, the survey.
Okay. I am beginning to get a number of volunteers in. Right now, we're running at about 20 new volunteers or renewed volunteers from last year. And we are giving out some assignments. I'm trying to convince people that they need to actually tell me what assignment they want, or I'm going to start randomly assigning them. But I have one gal that I've gone back 4 different email exchanges. Just pick one. I don't know which one I want. Okay. Anyway, so that's working out. That's working out pretty well. Just kind of getting my feel about it. The Edison team, the Kramer Design Group people have came into town on Monday. In fact, they're still in town and they are working. They were up at the archive today and they'll be back up there again tomorrow, Friday. They are using the same survey 123 that we are using for the rest of the city. Got them set up with a separate box that's just for the Edison reports. And they say so far it's working really, really well. I got them into direct contact with our IT staff that's handling that for us, so that if they have an issue, they don't have to worry about going through me. If it's an issue with the program, if it's an issue with the survey itself, then I'll be talking with them. But so far it seems to be going pretty well. We do have a meeting scheduled to train our citywide surveyors on March 31st at 6 o'clock. And we have a meeting scheduled for the outreach for the Edison neighborhood for the next day, April 1st at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And then hopefully we'll have all those, the outreach things will be done and it'll just be a matter of juggling people and getting them out into the field. So, and I don't remember what I wrote in my report, so I'm going to. No, it's not. That's wrong. Okay. Yep. So I mean, it's going pretty well. I'm very pleased with it. The folks at IT are very excited about it, and they keep wanting to send out more stuff. So I'm good with that. If you guys are interested in the town hall, the open webinar for the Edison survey, let me know. The link is in the report, so you can just be a public attendee. This would mean, and we will be taking comments and questions as the meeting goes on. And then at the end of the presentation, I will be reading the questions and getting the answers back from the consultant team live. And then the whole kit and caboodle will be recorded and be available at a later date.
Okay. So Thursday, April 1st, yeah?
Thursday, April 1st at 6 o'clock. Yep. And I'm guessing hour to an hour and a half, probably. They're just going to talk about what they're doing. People are I have heard back from them that people are a little bit wary over in Edison, and apparently the police were called once on them.
Okay.
But even though they had the backpacks on and everything and the letters, I haven't heard the outcome of that yet, but I'm having dinner with them tomorrow to kind of review how it's going so far and catch up to date. And they're staying at the Stewart Avenue B&B. So they get a chance to spend some time in our other historic neighborhoods. So, so it's going okay. I mean, I wish that we had 100 people out in the field right this minute, but I really would rather that they wait until April, to be honest, because we're going to get more people be enthusiastic about it than going out right now when it's colder, although not the last few days.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, okay, so that's my update for that.
All right. Well, that's good news. That's good progress. So thank
I
you.
have a question, if I may.
Pam.
How many people are here from Kramer?
4.
And they are anticipating doing the entire neighborhood within the week?
Oh, no. They're going to be back 3 or 4 times or more, whatever it takes. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. No, they had no preconceived notion that they could possibly get through the entire neighborhood in 1 week. That was
I
just
was going to say, even with 4 people, that sounds like it would be a challenge.
No,
Yeah,
I think several days.
Really ambitious.
They haven't set up all the dates yet. I'm asking them to, they're working with Dana at Stewart Avenue B&B so they can have times where they're not taking rooms away from other paying customers. But they're, I'm sure they'll be in and out. And I asked them, would the commission like to have them, call into one of our meetings either in April or May, just to answer questions for us.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I will put that in to do.
Yeah, because I mean, there are probably some commissioners who aren't familiar with the survey process, and also, it would give another opportunity for public to kind of hear about how the process works and what it's about too. So
That's true.
I think that would be beneficial.
Okay, I will do that. I'm sure, especially since it's remote like this, it shouldn't be a problem at all. I just had word from the higher ups that we probably will be we're likely going to be meeting virtually at least through August. Not absolutely, but I would say that that it's very possible that we will continue meeting through August virtually.
Okay.
So, and this is very preliminary. This is just because it was supposed to end on April 15th, I think. So,
Mm-hmm. Kyle, you.
So maybe you can just confirm, clarify, Edison has their own separate project and Kramer's doing all of that survey?
Correct. Correct. They're doing the whole Edison neighborhood. They're being funded by a certified local government grant that the city was awarded. And it was really nice because it was 100% grant. Usually it's a 60-40 match. So this was 100% grant, and the State Preservation Office was very enthusiastic about us doing this. So I think we're kind of leading the pack on an example of what you can do with a historic survey.
Yeah, so it's not a separate project, but
Right.
that one is being conducted by the consultants as a result of a grant specifically for that one area, but it's still part of the same overall survey.
Right. And that's why we wanted them to use Survey 123 as well, because then we can meld the two and have one big giant database. It won't be a separate something else that we'll have to translate in some way. It'll just fit right in.
They're not doing the sidewalk and tree part, you said?
No, they're not doing the sidewalk and tree part. Figured that would slow them down. Having actually done several days worth myself, I found that that actually did slow me down a touch. And considering they want to do the whole neighborhood, and Edison is the largest neighborhood in the city, I wanted to kind of take that off their plate. So it's still on their survey, and they can do it if they want to, but I'm not pushing them to do it.
So Sharon, what happens when they come back with a report that does not include that component when everything else does?
It's okay. It'll just be blank on those. It's not a problem. Just won't be filled in. Well, the same way that there's a whole bunch of categories there for use, and you have to check off the ones that are relevant. So we're going to have very, very few that are checked off in the agricultural category anywhere in the city. So that's just a blank column. It's just not filled in for that topic. The only topics that have to be filled in are address and then the photos. That's the only things that are absolutely required to have a complete report. So I don't think it'll make any difference at all.
Except that there won't be a comparison between Edison and the other neighborhoods in that regard.
And for sidewalks and trees, you're right.
Right.
But all the historic stuff will be apples to apples.
Well, yeah, but trees and landscapes are part of the historic.
Right. So like I said, they left it on there. So if they want to take the time to do it, they're welcome to, but I'm not pushing them to do that. So, because it adds at least a third more time easily to every single property you look at.
Do we know for a fact that they're not going to?
No, that's one of the things I'll talk to them about tomorrow night.
Okay.
And find out if they want, because if they want to do it, that would be great, but they don't have to do it.
Because for uniformity, I think it would be good. Though with that said, some of the work that's already been done, that information is absent too, because I mean,
Yes.
some of the earliest preliminary work, that option wasn't even available at that
Right, exactly. And the thing is too, that since this is paid for by a certified local government grant,
point.
while occasionally the trees do weigh in on the significance of the property, it's not all that common, especially in Edison, outside of maybe the boulevards
The boulevards
on Lay and Lane and Clinton and Eggleston.
Yeah.
But those are going to be called out as specific features by themselves, and they wouldn't be part. I mean, because I found one other boulevard over on the east side, and you can't document it because it doesn't go to a specific property, so you can't have an address. So that's going to be a separate call out for part of what they're talking about when they do the report.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good if, for just uniformity and continuity, if they could address that.
Well, but sidewalk condition isn't much really part of it. I mean, trees are part of the landscape,
Yeah.
but sidewalk is a little bit less so, but not much. And that comes from me because I'm quite a scholar of the sidewalk marks that were placed by the concrete companies that laid the sidewalks, and the corner markings in the Vine neighborhood, especially where you have the names of the streets inset. So, and in Edison and in parts of Stewart and some other neighborhoods. So, you know, sidewalk marks can be part of that, but that really is another quite a large burden to place on surveyors who are doing a recon survey. If it's an intensive level survey, absolutely every detail.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Sharon? All right, Regina, public education.
Yes. Whoops. I realized I forgot to send Sharon my notes. I'm sorry, Sharon. And everyone, because then that means that everybody didn't get them. But I have them here. So we met on the 26th, and I have finally, I'm steps away from getting the original videographer to send a link to the guy at KPL, so we'll get that kind of wrapped up. The tribe have now gotten a link to the non-live version of the KPL information for them to review. There is going to be a little bit that we'll have to update because it still includes information about the overarching boundary marker corner marking project, which is kind of in a funky spot right now. And that topic came up. So we're basically right now going to, part of my job, I'm going to reach out to TRHT, which I need to do anyways, to try and see if there is overlap between the corner markers specifically and any projects that they have ongoing. I don't know though, from what I've seen from TRHT, and John Shaganabi confirmed this too, they have not reached out to any tribal members. Even though he and Jeff Chamberlain met with them a while ago, but so I don't think that project is necessarily in their project scope right now. But we'll see. So we'll figure that out. And then the big discussion was talking about plantings in the park. There was a lot of desire to get some different plantings around the mound specifically. So between Patrick McVeary, who is with Kalamazoo Parks, and other folks in his department, they're going to be working along with the tribe to figure out what sort of appropriate plantings that are low maintenance and have an Anishinaabe focus. And they also just wanted them to have a connection to the directions, north, south, east, west. So they're going to look at what that would be. And the city is going to do a work plan for a bid process for what that will look like. So that's kind of their thing now. And then David is working on a kind of a rollout of information of the findings of the survey from the park to give to City Commission and the city at large, because that kind of hasn't been done yet. People have gotten information, but it hasn't really been formally kind of rolled out. So I think I'm going to probably end up trying to help David a little bit to, sorry, that's my dog. Abby, it's okay. To try to make sure that the information makes sense to the common person, because a lot of the radar survey stuff is very, very high tech detail. And so I think we're going to work to see what we could put together to make it kind of plain speak, as it were.
Okay.
You might, if you need help, Amanda Cockcroft is really good at translating academic speak into other things.
How do you spell that?
Right there, Amanda Cockcroft.
Thank you. I was like, why does that name sound familiar? Oh.
So she's really good at putting together outreach information and stuff. Just really does a great job.
Awesome.
I just got a text from David, who is trying to join the meeting, and I sent him the link, but I'm not sure he knows quite where to click. Is there someone, one of the co-hosts, that can send him the link in an email or something?
Yes, I'll take care of that.
Thank you. David Bros.
Also, I don't know how many of the commissioners know this, but David actually presented the findings of the
Yes.
light air stuff at the MHPN conference. So it's out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has been shared, and I think that we got the impression from Jeff that it would probably be good to remind the commissioners. That's the kind of the vibe we got without him saying that directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? Okay. Pam and Sharon, OHAL.
Two things to add to the printed report because we met on Monday. Number one, we made some preliminary decisions about topics to cover for the 21-22 OHA season. And number two, we are waiting to hear from just one person about taping the very last episode for the season that we're in right now, the 2021 season. That is on storm windows, and there are many people involved, and Lynn is the only person I have not heard back from yet. But so far, we have a couple of dates. That's all I have to add.
Okay. What are, I'm just curious, what are the new topics?
The new topics?
Mhm.
Oh, you had to ask me when I didn't have it printed out. Sharon, you're going to have to help me. We're talking about gutters.
Okay.
We're talking about how to make decisions about what to do with your old wood floor. Perhaps how to repair a simple mortise and tenon lock. Sharon,
Just a sec.
what were the other ones?
We were gonna do, when to panic about your foundation and gutters. Did you say those?
Yeah, no, foundation didn't end up being one of them.
Okay.
Let me look real quick.
But definitely gutters was one of them. Do you need gutters? You know, how to evaluate that for your old house. And if you do, you know, a little bit about how to choose them.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you got gutter or
How to
not,
strip,
not to
how to
gutter.
strip your wallpaper.
Mhm.
Electrical,
use your own or old or new.
maybe, yes, that's one that's the only one that we still don't know for sure about.
Okay.
Um,
Rehab your old floor.
Okay.
right. And
Okay.
then 3 of the What Style Is It episodes of the type that Lynn did. That interestingly has not gone up yet on the Public Media Network's website, and which KPL is planning to, the March one, somehow they missed it scheduling wise at Public Media Network. But it is supposed to go up on KPL's website on Saturday. So I'm waiting to hear back from Public Media Network.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, thank you. I was just curious. So, okay. Any other comments or commissioners, any questions for Pam or Sharon?
I just wanted to say I sent the link to the OHA videos to my sister. She has an awesome old house, 1830s in Wisconsin. And the former owners very kindly painted a bunch of the windows shut. So,
yeah.
And her mother-in-law very kindly likes to say that this is why you buy new. And I was like,
Boy.
Screw her. Here's a link to these great videos. So she was very excited because they are trying to tackle as much as they can themselves.
On their own, yeah.
Regina, tell her to check out the Wisconsin State Historic Preservation Office, because Bob Yap did a series of reports for that office on how to fix up different parts of your old house and how to evaluate.
Okay. I will.
And I
I'm gonna
accidentally
write it
came-
in my notes, so ignore that part of my notes when I send them to you.
I came across another series today done by the Chicago Bungalow Association where they addressed a lot of different topics. Also, nice little short, compact, 6-7 minutes. There's David.
Mhm.
The
Okay,
miracles of modern technology.
yeah,
He must have used my link because he's called Pam O'Connor on the screen, but you all know the difference. Except that we both have white hair.
Miracles of modern technology.
He
okay.
must have used my link because he's called
I
Pam
did.
O'Connor on the screen, but you all know the difference. Except that we both have white hair.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for sending that to me, Pam.
Miracles of modern technology.
Yeah.
He
Thanks
must
for
have
the,
used my link because he's called
I
Pam
did.
O'Connor on the screen, but you all know the difference. We've gotten into some sort of a
Yeah,
repeating.
thanks a lot.
David, you're gonna have to mute. We've got bad feedback.
He must have used my link because he's called Pam O'Connor on the screen, but you all know the difference. We've gotten into some sort of a repeating.
Can we get that fixed anyway? All right, cool. There we go. Okay, moving to the KBCC Traditional Trades Program. Can we get that fixed anyway?
I'm working on it.
Can we get that fixed? Sharon?
Yeah, I just sent him an email.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the traditional trades program.
Okay, the meetings that I am having with the National Trust people, we just finished up our, okay, this is what's happening is we've got, we're part of a team of focus groups that are studying, one is studying affordable housing, one is studying climate change, and the group that I'm working with is studying traditional trades. And both the lack of a perceived market for them, people don't know that they can find people that can do this work, and not enough people to do the work. So we've been doing a lot of studying, and the idea was that we were putting together, on our topic of traditional trades, we were putting together an issues statement. So this is not solutions, this is issues. So we've been doing what's happening, what's the current state of things, and then we're that will be integrated into a larger document, a white paper that'll come out from the National Trust, and will probably be posted on its own website so people can have access to it. The steps after the one we're in the middle of right now will be starting to look for solutions and actions. We've had things like open source curriculum for schools to use. We've had suggestions of a master location for information about the traditional trades, you know, essentially a directory to where to find people that do this type of work, where to find materials that, you know, just kind of a giant directory for people to use. Just as a lot of different ideas we're coming up with, but those we haven't entered into yet. Right now, we're just talking about the issues, the fact that there's a lot of perceived need for the skills that the traditional trades people have, but that we don't have a lot of people to do them and take the, you know, take the classes, learn what they do. I did make a correction today because they had a nice piece. It's all written up. We're ready to have our document merged with the other groups, and it looks really good, and add some photos and some pretty things, maybe some graphs and stuff. But they were talking about trying to introduce more preservation into K-12 education, which I think is a really good idea, except that in terms of turning out craftspeople, that's going to be a slow process. And at least half, if not more, of the trades craft people that I know either were raised in the trades, a few of them were raised in the trades, but the vast majority, it's been a midlife career change for them. They just decided this is what I want to be in because I love this field. I love the hands-on or whatever it is. And that was kind of left out of their statement. So we got that integrated in today. But when that goes live, I will let you all know, because it's the first time since 1967 that anybody has studied this topic in depth. And we did not even come close to totally in depth. We just did, I think we did a very good study, and we brought a lot of good information together. But so there's a lot of room for improvement, and I'm hoping that we can move forward and get something going. Now, I met with Amy out at KVCC, and KVCC is still very interested, especially with, there's 2 different programs that are running through the college right now, both of which could generate more students that would be eligible to make use of training if we had traditional trades training out there. So she and I are going to have meetings set up pretty regularly as this goes through the process and see if we can get something going again. She did tell me that she would very, very much like to have some sort of program of some kind happening next fall. Even if it's like
Okay.
just a 2-day window workshop or something like that. She wants to kind of get a toe in the door and get this going as soon as they can meet together. The hard part is that while the in-seat stuff is easy, we can do it like this, like a Zoom call. The hands-on part is a lot more difficult. She says at best they can have 4 people in a shop right now at a
Okay.
time. And when we would want to have a class of at least a couple dozen, that makes it very, very difficult to work all the details out. So, but we're working at it, and it's very encouraging to me to know that KVCC is still interested, and the Groves in working with us to accommodate, or to accomplish something. So that's my report.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Sharon? Okay. Any update on the cemetery project?
No, nothing.
All right.
Nothing. I haven't even heard yet when the work's going to start. I'd be willing to bet it's like being put out to bid and stuff right now anyway. So
I kind of assumed, but I figured I would check.
Yep.
Can
Absolutely.
Sharon, do you
Yes.
think since I have the emails of the folks who were interested in the project, when we are able to, or when the city has shared the work that's going to happen, would it be okay to email them
Sure. I think that would be
just
great.
as an engagement update sort of a thing? Okay.
Yep. And then maybe we could even ask people's opinions on when would be a good date to get together to do some cleaning after the work is done.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes,
So
that'd be great.
I will take your lead on whenever you say that it's okay to share that information. So
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
okay.
Should you change the person responsible for that topic from Timmerman to someone else?
We're going to do that when we get to new business.
The
Old
work
new
plan.
Business, the work plan is under. Haven't forgotten. Regina, preservation move.
Sharon Sharon and I probably need to meet again, but she did send out the email that oh no, shoot, is it Neil?
Neil, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Neil Conway said that he would be able to put together a video for each awardee site for us to have in May. So that is exciting. So we'll have to kind of figure out what exactly we want that to be with the time frame that we're going to have, since I mean we'll know 2020 hopefully tonight. We'll get that wrapped up, but the tighter timeline will be the current ones since of when submissions hit. So
Right.
we'll see what that actually looks like. But I'm excited to try something new.
Yeah, this might be something that we continue doing even after we're not doing it virtually, just to have that input from people. I think it would be a nice record. So,
did anyone get to see the MHPN awards that I sent out, the link?
Yes.
They probably won't be that good.
I don't know. Neil's pretty
You
talented.
never know. I mean, I'm not discounting Neil at all. I'm thinking more about time.
Oh,
Neil's
Yep.
talented.
Yep. I was thinking about, I don't think it's going to be hard to do. Anyway, so we'll work it out. So we want to start talking about the awards?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the awards for the 2020 nominations are in the packet, D1, D2, and D3.
Come in. Okay, I want to talk about them a little bit. The 522 Mill Street is one that Sue Robinson found,
Mhm.
and I think it's outside the historic district. It's not a building that was restored completely in the sense that, you know, it's back looking exactly the way it was, but especially with opening up the windows so that the light comes in again and that the building is again in active use. I think this is kind of a simple project, but I think it was done well,
Yeah.
in my opinion personally. So,
I agree.
and it's outside the historic districts, which I think is always a bonus.
It seemed like a, possibly a more accessible way to approach preservation. It's not necessarily the millions of dollars put in brand,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's a nice example of some neighborhood preservation that was maybe done well at perhaps lower cost.
Mhm. They did get a grant to help cover some of the exterior facade work because, as you can see in the pictures, there was gunk all over that upper facade, and that's all still there. They didn't tear any of that out in order to put the stucco over it and the metal bands, but so it's still there waiting for someone else to restore it. But
Right.
just letting all that light in with the windows, I think, is just absolutely spectacular.
Right. I mean, I think that there's, is it perhaps like a picture perfect example of restoration for that style? No, but functional, and does it do what it needs to do? It seems to.
Yeah, and it keeps an otherwise underutilized or vacant building in active use. Now,
Exactly.
I honestly do not know whether they are still up and running now, because gyms have been so circumscribed over the past year. I don't know whether they're up and running right now.
Yeah.
I couldn't find, I was trying to figure that out just out of curiosity, and I couldn't find a statement either way. So I don't know what that means.
Yep.
But to me, that doesn't necessarily take away from the project that they already
Absolutely.
did. I mean, it'd be too bad, but like you said, I mean, gyms have not.
Yeah.
And in particular, a gym in a smaller space like that, I can't imagine how they would have been able to keep people away from each other.
And either way, they did the work, even if they're not in actively using it right now. It's still, they did do the work, and we recognize that, because otherwise this was just it's a box building. There's nothing special about the inside. It's just a space with some storage in the back and a couple of bathrooms, and that's about it. But I think that was a pretty inventive use for an otherwise vacant building.
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
So should we take
Does
a
it
vote
meet the
on?
criteria?
What was that, Sharon? I heard Pam and Sharon at the same time, so.
I asked if it met the criteria.
I think it does.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they opened up the windows again. They unboarded them. They put in appropriate windows. Maybe not exactly what was there, but I think there was probably nothing behind that boarding. Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it and say, would the Historic District Commission have approved this? And I'm tempted to say, yeah, they probably would have, which means it probably would meet the standards. What they did do, that they changed things with the green band and the metal around the cornice line, is everything is still behind that. It's not gone.
Yeah, and it's reversible too.
Yeah, and that's what we're always looking for. Is this something that's possibly reversible? So, yeah, I think they did a good job.
Do we want to vote on these one by one as we go through them at the end, one by one? All right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a motion to approve the nomination for, sorry, I got to find it, 522 Mill Street.
I'll move to approve the nomination for 522 Mill Street.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving to 320 East Michigan, the Ritz Building.
Those of us who worked the Hidden Kalamazoo tour will recognize this as the Hotel Holt.
Mhm.
This was not a tax credit project, I believe, because in order to make use of the hallway space as part of the working space, a lot of the central core of the building was the staircase and then the halls that went around all the way around the sides. And they wanted to use that a little bit more intensively. So they did extend the walls from what had been the rooms out right next to the rail, as you can see in the one picture of the staircase. But I think, this is a building that was completely empty on the second and third floors, except for the storage of bicycles and bicycle parts.
Mhm.
And now I believe it's a completely rented four unit?
Four.
Unit? Yeah.
4 units.
Yep. With a new balconies at the rear and an elevator and a stair tower at the rear. So it's got, and they did maintain the entrance from the street with this wonderful central staircase and the skylight. I don't know if I got a really good picture of the skylight itself, but that whole central area is just bathed in light, and that makes it really nice. And they kept all the floors that were there. I like the fact that they didn't go overboard refinishing the rails and stuff. They kind of left some of the wear and tear to show.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Same with some of the interior brickwork.
well, they shouldn't have. I wish they hadn't stripped the walls, but
Yeah.
people are convinced that that's authentic, and it's like, no,
It's
the
cool.
plaster would not have been there if it was authentic. So
Yep.
Is there a picture of the entire building?
I
Is it at
think
the end?
I can't remember where I put it. I thought I put one up of the whole building.
It's page 3. Mine, I don't know if it was the same way for everybody, but mine printed out blurry, but that is the whole building.
Yeah, it's right next
I
to
see interior.
Bimbo's.
Okay. I
It's right
see an edge of a wall there with a brick wall. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Galvanized deck, looks like.
And that was for the addition. That was an addition for the back. There was nothing on the back in terms of fire escape or anything else. And so they added some balconies and, like I said, the stair tower and elevator for the tenants.
It's a white building?
It's white terracotta on the front and red brick on the sides.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is on the last page too.
That mosaic in the entrance is fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure I would have chosen that type of galvanized for a deck because I like to be barefoot on my deck, but I guess if it drains well, I guess that's good.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, how hot are those feet going to be? But probably
Well, it's
won't.
not-
Like,
it
probably
actually-
other people wear shoes, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it because of fire issue? Is that why it's built that way to be fireproof?
I have no idea. I'm guessing that might be the case because that faces south. So
Mhm.
And also, wouldn't your shoes get caught? Maybe it's like a couple inches wide. I don't know. Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't been up there, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's an odd design, but
Oh yeah, there it is. The last page is a picture of the front. Yep. Yep. So
any comments, discussion on this one?
Seems like a clear example of mixed use preservation, quality mixed use preservation. And I don't know, I think it looks great.
I'm only slightly sad that we can't walk through it the way it was before.
Yeah, I almost wish we'd made a video at the
Yeah.
time because it was just so like
Yeah.
a little tattered and unaltered.
Hmm.
I mean, the bathtubs were gone, but that's about it. I mean, the bathtubs and toilets were gone, but everything else was there. So,
Anyone else?
It's right by the post office, huh?
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's in the end of the block that the post office is in and right next to
Okay.
Bimbo's Pizza. So if you haven't been down there to Bimbo's for pizza yet, you need to go down and try that. And then you can take a look next door.
Sherry said that you don't think they used the historic tax credit program. Do you know if they used any other incentives?
I do not believe so. I think this was entirely private investment.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't think they got facade grants. They did, and this is one of the things I want to point out. I'm not sure it shows as much as it should, but on that last page where you do have the front facade, they restored the prism glass above the doors. They restored the storefronts because up until they took it over, the storefronts where the glass was about that same size, but below it was a dark brown corrugated metal base around it. And then the door to the upstairs was also covered with that same dark corrugated, kind of that early 1980s kind of. And they did restore all the prismatic glass, and I believe they put an extra layer of glass over it to protect it. So, and that glass had to be stripped because it had been painted. So I think I was very pleased to see that they did that. I think they did a wonderful job with that.
Oh, I like it. Okay, I will call for a motion to approve the nomination for 320 East Michigan, the former Holt Hotel. That's a mouthful.
I move that we approve the building at 320 East Michigan Avenue.
Is there a second?
I'll
Catherine?
second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and motion passes. And 400 Bryant Street, Plaza Corps' nomination.
This is the county health department right now, which was the Illinois Envelope building. They have done an amazing amount of work.
Huge amount.
This was a tax credit project because this building was listed on the National Register. So when Plaza Corp started, their intention was to use the tax credit, and they did. So all the work that you see in terms of how the primary entrance was treated and the windows and the open spaces inside was approved as a tax credit project. So that pretty much means it automatically meets the Secretary of the Interior standards. I wish I had more photos. I went in there and viewed it, and I took lots and lots and lots of photos. And for the life of me, I cannot find what I did with them. But the pictures that I did include are very typical of the open spaces before they put in the cubicles. And the walls that they have added are walls that they stop about 2 feet short or more of the ceiling. So you still have that sense of the span of the factory space at the ceiling level, that space that moves around. And the stairwell, the light well in the front is really, really nice too, in terms of distributing light and everything. They have a display case in the front entrance that displays various artifacts from the rehab work and from the history of the building. So they've done a very nice job with it. If you take a look at that last page of photos that I put together, where the current entrance is, and then you look back in there, the photos that they supplied, and the one with the those like blue and red striped giant doors, that's what that facade looked like originally. So they really have, that was the loading dock. It was the freight dock. So I think they've done a nice job with it. It's a comfortable, welcoming space. much as I love the old dorm that they were in at Nazareth, I think this is much more welcoming to people because of the space that it has than the kind of dorm-like atmosphere they had out at Nazareth.
Mhm.
So,
Any comments or discussion? Okay. All right, I'll do it again. I'll call for a motion to approve this project as well. You all can just say I move. You don't need to wait for me. But yeah, I will call for a motion to approve the nomination at 400 Bryant Street.
I'll move to approve the nomination.
Is there a second? I'll second.
I'll
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Josh, did you move second? Sorry.
yes, he did.
I think you and Fred were tied. All right, I got it.
Oh, I will notify the award recipients in the next couple days and see how quickly we can get set up with our video making with Neil so that we can get this. I'd like to get these 3 under our belts before we get started on the next set, because there may be more for the next round.
Sharon, do you want to try to meet next week? And talk through what, because I'm sure Neil is going to ask, what do you want me to, what do you want me to do?
I want you to make it magically be wonderful. And she will do. I am pretty wide open except for Monday morning. So yeah.
Okay, I'll email you.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right.
I have a question about that one, if I may.
Pam, yeah.
It was, I assume, in part the county's decision to move forward in this location. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Should you consider giving a co-award to the county for making the decision to move forward with a project in a historic building?
We could do that for 2021.
Is there a reason you couldn't do it for this year? Just add an award.
Just because we've done that before where we've had, well, like when we moved the house, when the house was moved on the K College campus.
Right.
The owners got an award and Kalamazoo College got an award. One for doing it and the other for facilitating it. So
it might help to heighten awareness on the part of the county commissioners.
More of like a co-award.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really a good way to say it, but
tack
yeah.
them on to the 2020. Yeah.
I think it's your decision to make. I don't know that you necessarily have to have an application from the county in order to include them.
No, we can. You know what I can do is I will when I contact Plaza Corp, I will tell them that the commission would very much like to also, if I'm not speaking out of turn, give an award to the county for moving to a historic building. And if they have no objection, I bet you that won't be a problem at all. I mean, it's just more positive publicity for them.
Yeah.
So, and for the county both. So
what do y'all think?
I like that.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
We should vote on it. So does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll motion that we also award Kalamazoo County Health Department for the 400 Bryant Street, Illinois envelope building project.
Is there a second? Kyle, all in favor? All right.
thank you.
Opposed? All right, cool, there we go. Thanks.
Good.
Aaron, if I can ask,
Yes.
it's called Bryant Street, but I was looking at the map and like the river's blocking any entrance you would have from Bryant Street. So is that a historical address? Was there a bridge at some point? Or?
I believe that was the historic address, yes. And so that's what they're using. Because that's the address that goes with the parcel number. So I do not pretend to understand all the vagaries of parcel address, street address, legal address, because that's one of the things that I always triple check whenever I'm dealing with something is, do we have the right building here? So yeah, that's what they chose. And apparently that's the mailing address, which is why they chose it. But you're right, you can't get to it from Bryant Street unless you're willing to get out of your car and hike.
Okay, moving to designation and sites. The David's report on urban archaeology is under old new business, so we're going to deal with that under old new business. But is there anything else that anybody has to add to designation and sites right now? Okay, we'll get to urban archaeology in old new business then. Sustainability, I don't have anything right now until we deal with the work plan and we prioritize. Sharon, do you have anything before we move to Pam?
Nope, I'm planning on doing a report on the current status of all the text and everything else that we have on the Hidden Kalamazoo book, and that will be at the next meeting. I am not going to give you the entire text. I'm just going to kind of do an abstract of what we have and what we still need, and then we can make a decision whether we want to approach Arcadia or not to kind of take it for us.
Okay, no, I'm fine with that. Then Pam.
Just a brief update on what I'm now referring to as the Lost and Found End project. In conversations both with Western Michigan University and KPL, I have found that digitization is possible.
Okay.
Keith Howard, who is their expert at KPL, suggested that we look for master files, and Peter Brakeman has actually found the master files for the second version, which was corrected and updated, done in 2004. And he would very much like to have a hand in the digitization if we all go forward. He's working on a quote to do that. That means that it would be the commission's file and would not belong to anyone, and then the commission would make a decision as to who they would like to have it shared with.
Is that the digitization we talked about to put it on in the library and have it scroll?
Yes.
Okay.
In the library or anywhere else the commission chooses to have it. Yes.
Okay.
Then in regard to the decision that you made about creating a new purchase order for Lynn to do fulfillment and deliveries for the rest of this year until the decision is made on the rest of the stuff. And I am still working on copyright issues and all of the other things that come with that. But we had a long discussion the other day, and it doesn't make logistical sense for her to take the time to learn about the record keeping for and the stuff I have to do for reporting sales and delivering sales. So with your permission, what we would like to do is have Lynn actually do the deliveries. I would receive the orders. Lynn would make the deliveries. She would report back to me with delivery receipts. I would, under my current purchase order, record everything and report everything just as I have in the past, and reimburse Lynn as a subcontractor for her time doing the delivery. It's easy for me to carry on that part of it. My challenge was physically moving the cases of books, and she's happy to do that. So what's your pleasure on that?
I think that awesome. Thank you so much. Because if somebody had to pick it up, who knows? With that said, is it possible you could put together a booklet or a pamphlet on how to do it so that in case you become incapacitated, somebody could pick it up?
I wasn't really prepared to do that.
Well, it's only another, 8 months, so yeah.
We need to have this all resolved by the end of 2021 anyway.
Yeah,
what I could do is send some instructions. I could copy Lynn on the record keeping that I am doing right now. with short explanations about how stuff comes in and goes out.
I mean, that's fine. It's just that in the
You don't want it
event that
lost.
something happens, we as the commission needs to have some kind of
Sure.
step-by-step instruction
Yeah.
so that somebody else could pick it up. And that's not
Right.
saying that you have to have it tomorrow. I mean,
Right.
it could take a while, maybe summer is when we could get it. But if we could get, that's just me. I'm always trying to make sure we've covered all our bases. If the commission could have some kind of step-by-step guide on how you do it, that I don't have a problem with you continue to do it if you want to, but if we just had something in writing.
Yeah, I think I can do maybe not a booklet, but a set of documents with simple instructions. I think once you see things, it'll be relatively self-explanatory. But yes, I can and would be happy to do that because I get exactly what you're saying. It's always good to have a backup.
Just in terms of formal procedure, just because I'm not sure, do we need I know we're gonna have to do a roll call vote on this because it's money, but do we need any form of like written proposal for this? So in the last meeting, Pam had a proposal that was in the packet. Do we need anything in writing or can we vote on this without?
We have a recording of this meeting.
Right. I
And we
didn't
will have
know
the
if we
meeting
I didn't know if we just needed a formal written proposal.
No, because really, when you look at the whole thing, yeah, I don't think we need a whole
Okay.
written proposal to do this.
I
I think
just
we
wanted
can
to
just,
make sure that I wasn't doing anything that I wasn't supposed to. So
I mean, it's kind of, in a way,
it's going back
it's
to
kind
the
of an
way-
amendment to the proposal from the last time.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Pam would be continuing in her role and then Lynn would become a subcontractor under Pam.
yeah, she'll be the muscle.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah, Lynn will be the
No,
muscle.
Pam is the brains and Lynn is the muscle. She's just
Well,
doing.
I wouldn't go that far, but thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. Do any of the rest of you have any questions for Pam? Everybody understand what Pam is proposing? Is anything unclear about it?
So if I put that together and just deposit it with Sharon, is that okay? So that it's available? I don't need to send it to everyone, do I?
Right.
Do you even care?
Right.
No.
No,
Okay.
but which brings me to another, well, I don't know. Well, we'll wait, I guess.
Yeah.
It
So we
brings me to my next concern. Do we have a repository for things
Well,
for the commission?
Lene, let's vote on this first.
Okay.
Yeah, let's deal with one thing at a time. So sorry, I
Mhm.
wasn't trying to cut you off, but okay. So Pam has a request that Pam remains in control, and then Lynn will become a subcontractor under her for the deliveries. Is there I'm going to call for a motion to approve Pam's request and amend last month's vote.
I motion to approve the amendment to have Pam continue the paperwork and the processing and to have Lynn do the deliveries.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so this will be a roll call vote. Fred?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Okay, Regina?
Aye.
Lene?
Aye.
Kyle? And I. So motion passes. Okay, now Lene.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm sorry. Do we have a repository, like a folder where we can, electronic folder where we can put things in, that everyone could access? Or I don't know what the city has. I'm just asking. Okay, there's that. Then let's keep moving.
We do. It's in Sharon's office. It's called Sharon's office.
Almost total chaos.
Drawers
Yeah.
and boxes in Sharon's office.
Right. It's probably on the floor.
You know, but it's it's worth asking whether they do have, whether for maybe some of the other commissions, there is essentially the equivalent of a Dropbox folder that people can get in and out of for information. So I can ask about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea.
And Pam, when you
You know,
put it
just for basic
together,
documents, you know.
Hmm.
and Pam, when you put it together, can you include Lynn's portion as well? You know, because if somebody has to go
sure.
to the books, yeah.
Yeah, I would just follow the chain of the way things happen.
Okay.
And provide the documents, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah,
Sure.
a Dropbox would be great.
Yeah,
And everybody could have access, because you can block that Dropbox to make it private, so only those in the commission can see it.
Yep.
But yeah, that would be great.
And I think this is a good idea. I mean, for some, rather than having it on your computer, even for some of the other commissions, having all that available. So all you had to do was dial it up and pull down the one document you need, like the standards and guidelines for the Historic District Commission or something. I mean, that might be a very useful thing to have for other commissions as well.
Hmm.
And then you can put the minutes that you have, your archival minutes in there, so everybody can access it if they do.
I've only got them going back to about 1978.
I don't know about that far, but oh yeah. Okay.
Sharon, actually, out of curiosity, are your minutes back to, they're not up on the cities, they're not all digitized, right?
They are
Yeah.
image digitized. They are not
Word search.
Yeah, right. They're not
Okay.
searchable, right? Really.
Okay.
But we do. I have got them. I've got them on a CD, and I actually loaded them on my external hard drive so that I have access to them whenever I want them. But it's a kind of a hit or miss thing, because there's some stuff that's missing as well completely from the early days. So
Okay.
fascinating, though. Fascinating.
All right, operations, just a couple things. I'm creeping up on the time to meet with Christina Anderson again for our quarterly meeting. So hopefully sometime next month, maybe before our next meeting, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't spoken with Christina yet. We haven't forgot about the meeting with Dorla Bonner. Sharon and I are still trying to set that up. So hopefully soon. And then the last thing, just a reminder that, so we dealt with the 2020 preservation nominations. There's about 3 weeks left for 2021 nominations. So be thinking about your Preservation Month and Preservation Award nominations for this year and get those into Sharon. The rest of my stuff, we're going to, oh no, one more thing. So as we did mention at the beginning of the meeting, Tim Hills has stepped down from his position on the commission. We do not currently have any applications for the commission right now. So if you know of anybody who's interested, talk to your friends, etc. There is a spot that will be open next month. And the rest of operations we'll be dealing with under old and new business. So
Have Sharon, have you received any nominations for this year yet?
None yet. Nope. I'm planning on.
I went over
myself.
to the house and they haven't said anything. I don't want to force them. Like, you gotta put yourself in.
For which one?
The old Crane house.
Oh, gotcha.
So cross our fingers.
Yep. And well, whatever, I mean, inside, outside the historic district, Kurt got back to me with a list of like 6 different people. Just, I think that's going to be, I'm probably going to do the Gate Cottage just because I'm so excited about it. And I have the complete list of all the contractors that worked on it and the responsible parties, so we can, pat some of the state people on the back for putting up the money for it. So, yeah. So I want to do that. And quick aside, Josh, for you, did you know that 2 of the young people that you were judging for the History Week were Christina's sons?
I did.
They both did very well.
They both did very well. They did. They both do very well every year. So, it's like their parents are interested in history or something,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to old new business with the work plan. So 2 weeks ago, we met in a special session to go over and revise the work plan. I asked you all to be thinking about what committees and projects you would all like to be working on and think about the priorities. And now is time to deal with the consequences of your actions and your thoughts. We need to edit and revise if any edits or revisions need to be made to the work plan, prioritize and then adopt the work plan tonight. So if I can find it. All right, there we go. Sharon, do you want to take this part over?
Well, I think one of the first things we really need, hold on, I'm just pulling up my, there we go.
Yeah, I feel out of sorts.
Are there any changes that we want to make to what I have put in the packet as the work plan that we discussed? Did I miss something? Is there something we need to change? If any of you want to say, oh, yeah, I want to be involved with that group and be the leader for it, this is the time to speak up and say that.
Yes.
The 3 steps are edit or revise and then prioritize, and then we need to actually have a motion to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
I have a change.
Go ahead, Pam.
Based on our grant making committee meeting last week,
Mm-hmm.
under the new title of Create New and Manage Existing O'Connor Fund for Historic Preservation Programs, item number 2, I have split into items A and B, and I can send the text to you all or to Sharon.
Yes.
But we now have 2 programs that are suitable for direct funding, or that's what we're proposing. One of them is no cost home repairs for qualified low-income owner occupants. And the other one is a more inclusive and diverse Kalamazoo history as it relates to preserving buildings and places.
Yes.
If you all find that okay, I'll send the text on to Sharon.
Does anyone have any questions about that? And thank you, Pam. You literally took words out of my mouth. I appreciate that.
Happy to help.
Does everybody kind of get a sense of what the grant committee decided to do in that sense? Any questions or comments about it? Are you okay with it?
Great.
Cool. All right, so leaders and then any revisions.
Mm-hmm.
So the reconnaissance level is always the reconnaissance level historic survey is the coordinator. I'm happy to still stay on with that in committee representation. But if there are groups and projects that you all want to be involved with, this is the time to speak up.
I'd like to be involved with the designations. It looks like you need a few people in that category. It looks like a lot of work under preservation tools.
I'm with you, Fred. I was hoping to volunteer for that as well, as long as it wasn't just me by myself. So
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff
a lot
there.
there. Yeah.
But it sounds interesting.
Okay.
I'd be interested in the diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
And I will be hovering over all of these, so
Mhm.
probably.
Yeah, I of course am interested still in continuing on with the Reservation Public Education Committee. So with its branch under.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in that category too.
Right. So that blends together.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop my video and lay on the floor quick, but I'm still going to take notes.
Okay. And I'm happy to continue on with the O'Connor Fund and preservation programs and grants.
Oh, and I still want to stay on Ohio though. Don't take me off of that.
Don't worry, you're not
Well,
going.
that'll be, yeah, that'll be under the preservation and grants. So yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Can you get on
cemetery,
more than one? Can you get on more than one?
Yeah.
yes,
But do you
yes.
have time? That's the next question. Do you?
That's exactly. Well, like for example, preservation month is really a little bit intense for a couple months a year, and the rest of the time it's not that much.
Mhm.
You know, so it kind of depends on what your year is like and whether that would work out for you. Sustainability
I'd be
and
interested
revenue.
in the diversity and inclusion also.
Okay. So that almost makes it, that's as many as we can have. Because
Yeah.
if we get more than that, that becomes quorum and that you can't meet you can't meet as a subgroup.
Yep.
So if you do want to meet and, you know, like this with Zoom or have lunch when things get a little bit better, something like that, you can do that as long as we don't have over 3 of the commissioners meeting together.
Right.
So, okay, so what I have is for the O'Connor Fund, which also includes Ohio. I've got Josh and Lene. For designation, I have Fred and Catherine. And for diversity, I have Lene and Regina and Fred.
Well, can we
Oh,
can we
was there
split
3
out?
there?
Can we split out OHOW in as a subcategory? Then it can be under preservation programs, but do a subcategory, because I know that Catherine was really interested in it, has been participating in the grant program portion of it, and I don't want to kick Catherine off of work that she's been doing, and so keep the grant program how it's been going and keep OHOW how it's been going.
Yeah, that actually is currently, I thought it was under that already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's there.
So
It's item 1.
OHOW becomes a separate subcommittee, and that's fine.
Oh, right.
So is it a
A
subcommittee?
subcommittee,
Okay, double sub.
right?
There's your picture, Regina.
Yeah. So OHOW stays
Yep.
the way it has been. The O'Connor Fund grants program stays the way it has been as well.
I'm fine with staying on with preservation month. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed it,
Thank you, Regina.
even if I am slow with it sometimes.
I would just make a comment. We've talked about this before, but don't forget that people like me who are not serving as commissioners can
Oh, I've
join
got you on there.
those committees.
I've got you
But
on.
yeah, but I mean, people that are not me, other people out there, just out there that are not commissioners. Can also-
Normally, preservation month, Tony always helps. Tony Holowinski.
Yeah, but that's to make cookies, among other things. So.
Well, yeah, that's more for in-person stuff, but yeah, it's the I will make more people work for me. Is that what you're saying, Pam?
Yeah, people out there in the real world, the
All
other
right.
world.
Like we need help on cemeteries. Is that what I'm gathering?
What's that, Kyle?
So it looks like we need help on cemeteries then? That's what's left?
Yes.
So, yeah, however I can help out.
All right. Excellent. So
I'll
Kyle,
be with you on that, Kyle.
Well, and I'll say too, I can since I was kind of doing that with Beth, I can help
Okay. By my count, then everything has groups and leaders.
I agree.
Okay. Now prioritization. What do we prioritize?
This being prioritized with our time we put into it or what we deal with first, or what's the prioritizing part of
I
this?
think that overall as a commission, for example, I don't remember how many years ago it was now, several years ago, the commission decided to prioritize the Fountain of the Pioneers in Bronson Park as their top priority. So, and then the other ones were below that. And that was, until Bronson Park kind of fell off of everybody's radar. That was pretty much the way that the work plan was for all those years in between. So what we want is to decide if not necessarily that we do, but if we have a top priority of something we really want to accomplish. For example, diversity and inclusion. Say that's going to be our top priority, that we will measure some of our decisions about taking on new projects or participating with outside groups. We will measure our involvement based on what our top priorities are. And if someone comes to us, this is kind of like a mission statement thing too. Someone comes to us with an idea, we want you to get involved in this. We will measure that against our work plan and our priorities. Does it fit in with what we have agreed to as a commission? Is it fit somewhere, or is this something that would be adding a whole new project to our list? So it's just prioritizing. We may not want to make one specific thing our top priority, but I think that prioritizing, at the very least, it's a really good mental exercise.
Mm-hmm. And just purely my opinion, if I were to pick two right now, I think it would be diversity and inclusion and the grants program. But again, that's just solely my opinion.
Those are the two that rose to the top in my mind as well.
Mine too. I would like to know if we have a place for making sure that we get resolution on Kalamazoo Lost and Found. I don't remember where that falls.
Sustainability.
That's under sustainability.
Okay. Because you have made a commitment to making sure that's done by the end of the year.
Right, for sure.
So I don't know if that can be made a priority.
It can. I mean, it absolutely can. It's a very short-term priority, but yeah, that absolutely can. Yeah, David.
You are muted,
You're
David.
muted.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay. One, I'd say if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. That's pretty clear. Okay. And given the way the world is these days, you're going to be judged on diversity and inclusion, whether you make that a priority or not.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely think it needs to be up there, but the sustainability, I mean, sustainability in itself could be the third priority, because the survey, it's priority, but we're monitoring it. We're monitoring to completion. So it's a priority, but it's kind of on the back burner. Sustainability, and we need to find something to replace Hidden Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo Lost and Found, and we also need to see that to conclusion. So sustainability as kind of a broad overarching goal could be a third one, right? And then with resolving the book, it could be a short-term goal within there too. But again, I think, just in my opinion, our top two need to be diversity and inclusion and the grants program.
And we just,
Josh, where's it? Go ahead.
You don't really need to rank all of them. You just need to choose the top priority, or one or two, like you have been talking about, and then the rest of them still exist, but it's not that they're considered a priority thing. If we have a choice between spending this much time on something or whatever, that'll help us guide our priorities and what we really want to do.
Yeah, and this can be
You have to rank all 7. It's just, or however many it is.
yeah, and it could be revisited again in a couple of
Yes.
years. This changes because, like Sharon was saying, 4 or 5 years ago, the commission's top priority was the fountain in Bronson Park, and things change. Fred, you were going to ask a question?
I found it. I was scrolling around trying to find the grants program, but I found it under the O'Connor Fund
Okay.
for Historic Preservation at the bottom, number 3. Okay.
Okay. What do the rest of you think?
I agree that diversity and inclusion is, at this point in the climate of the world, is kind of really important. And I concur with David's statement that, if you don't think that it's an emergency or a priority, you probably need to close the doors. And in addition, the lack of information on the cultural differences in Kalamazoo has not been highlighted. And so I think that's something that needs to take precedence. I agree that the sustainability is important and the grant is important. The sustainability, because we do need to look at other options of income, if you will. And the grants is the same idea. We need to look for other outlets for income and recognition as well. So I think I agree. Those are, to me, and don't get me wrong, the other ones are important. But to me, at this time, those would seem to me to be the most important.
And I think I know I don't have a vote on this, but I think I really agree. Diversity and inclusion, and then the grants program covers 2 things, which is outreach and education for people on old buildings through the OHAO, but also it could facilitate the diversity and inclusion by maybe providing funding for a marker program or whatever it is that the commission decides they want to do. So those 2 are actually mutually supportive. The sustainability is how to feed more money into what we already have to make sure that we can continue doing things that we want to do.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like the commission is pretty comfortable with diversity and inclusion as number 1, and O'Connor Fund programs, which include the grants and the OHAO, would be the number 2 priority, and number 3 would be sustainability, and the rest would just be there as working groups essentially, but they're not necessarily prioritized one over the other.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like that. They're all, I don't know, the more that I was thinking about it and listening with everybody sharing, they're all very nicely actually intertwined. They kind of feed each other in a way that's really that I like to see.
Yeah. Okay, so then actually, are there any other edits or revisions that people have? Aside from the one that Pam already made, or already proposed, I'm sorry. No? Okay, then we have our working groups, we've prioritized. I'm going to call for a motion to adopt the work plan as amended.
I'll move to adopt the work plan as amended.
Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent. And now the proposal from the good Dr. David Brose, which actually ties into diversity and inclusion and education and designation and a lot of other things. So this is item F in your report, and the chair will call on David.
Okay. I spent a lot of time at our work group, and I think all of you were present, so I don't know if I have to reintroduce all of those issues, but basic is the idea that a lot of historic information is locked in the ground. Much of it's lost, but that's true of documents as well. And what I'm looking for is for this organization, the commission, to adopt a program to work with the city planning department to create a mechanism by which ongoing construction, ongoing efforts that end up disturbing the ground have an opportunity to step back ahead of time and say, this is an area where it's likely we're going to find something that might be of historic significance. So it's really a three-stage process. And this has been done in many, many other locations. So we're not reinventing things, we're just applying things that have worked in other places. The first thing is to work with the State Preservation Office, and I know this is already done, which is to create a series of study units for different time periods. What are the significant events that structure the history of the state of Michigan, and how do those play out in a city in southwestern Michigan like Kalamazoo in this region? There's a time period during which you have prehistoric occupation, then you have a contact period, then you have a pioneer period, then settling in, then a period of commercial activity around the existence of the river and the paper industries, and then you have different populations coming in. So the state's got a whole series of work groups that are identified as different time periods of different levels of significance of different events. And then to play those against the kind of information that's likely to come from an archaeological recovery project for any one of those time periods. Obviously, you would expect to find different kinds of events, different kinds of materials, different kinds of structures and features during the colonial period, the 1830s, than you would during the 1930s when industry is booming away, or during the 1960s when industry begins to change. I often wonder what's down there on Mill Street where the Gibson factory began, before it moved up to Parsons Street, before it moved down to Nashville. We'd like to find out if anybody's going to dig up the back alley there. Is there a trash dump with Mr. Orville Gibson's signature in it? So the idea is to identify a series of areas which, in an urban environment like Cleveland, like Chicago, like Denver, like Alexandria, are likely to have some degree of preservation, where you might find the kind of significant materials that would illuminate the way industry developed, the way different populations lived. I can always give you the example we had in Cleveland, where we were able to identify an Irish community which didn't exist in the historical records, and to look at the way they interacted with the development of late 19th and early 20th century Cleveland. That same thing can happen here in Kalamazoo. There are different ethnic groups that have come in. There are different social organizations that have existed here. The east side and the north side sound alike today, but they probably were very, very different in the past. And the way people use the resources of the city of Kalamazoo is likely to be captured in some of those locations. So in addition to coming up with the kind of a list of the things you might like to see, a general list, it's also possible to identify in a general way the kinds of locations that are likely to be preservation environments for those kinds of archaeological materials. And then what I would hope would be that if the city of Kalamazoo's planning department would work to identify in general those kinds of locations based on the kind of information that the state has in terms of significant time periods, and based on the kinds of information that make something eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. And I would recommend that you go back and take a look at the revisions of the National Register criteria that the National Landmarks put together first in 1987 and then again revised more recently in 1991. The different categories. It's no longer, we're no longer looking at Monticello from Jefferson's office. We're looking at Monticello as a slave plantation as well, with different outbuildings, with different people, with different ethnic groups. I think then if we can come up with if the planning department will work with the Preservation Commission to come up with a series of generalized kinds of environments that are likely to exist by going to Sanborn maps and historic documents, then to work with developers to say that when you're beginning to develop, you need to work on these areas. You need to identify these areas. You need to put in place a plan to test those areas to see if in fact they are there, because you never know. Things happen that don't get recorded. And if they are there, are they likely to have the kind of material that you want? Are there trash dumps there? Are there cisterns there? Are there wells there? And if they are, let's put in place a plan to evaluate those against the criteria for the National Register. So that's what it is. Put together the study units. The state's pretty much done that. Have the city sit down with the commission and identify in general the kinds of environments you're likely to find as preservation areas, and then to develop a plan so that the city planning commission would work with developers whenever there's an opportunity to move the ground in those kind of areas. That's it.
David, do you know if there are any other cities near the size of Kalamazoo that have done something like this? I mean, I know Cleveland has and some other larger cities have, but is there any other cities that might be close to our size between 50 and 100,000 that have worked with something like this?
Well, that's a good question, and I haven't got a good answer for it.
I'll just send out a question. I can send that out to a couple little listservs that I'm on and probably get a really good answer.
But that would be a good thing to do, and I can send that out to the Historic Archaeology listserv as well, because a lot of the people that work in that field have had an opportunity. A lot of the cities have done this on an ad hoc basis. The problem is the ad hoc commission, the ad hoc generally is literally ad hoc after the fact, or at the fact, when somebody's in the process of excavating, the back end of a museum. They discover that, wow, this whole area is built on an old foundation of a farm that once existed here, and we don't know the people who lived here. So yeah, I'll see how many people I can come up with who have done this kind of work in different areas. And Sharon, maybe you can ask the kind of people in the planning departments in different cities of this size whether they've engaged in this sort of practice.
Yep, I can do that.
We talked about this at the planning meeting, and I do support this. What is, Sharon and David, what's the best way to begin moving forward with this, though?
Well, I think that Sharon and I and anybody else who's interested probably need to sit down with the city planning department.
Mm-hmm. And so far I haven't gotten any, thumbs down on it. They just really want to know more about how would this work? Where would it fit in? Could this stop a project cold? And I said, my feeling is that it's unlikely that it would stop a project cold, but, and we've got the NFP, the Natural Features Protection Committee, which is already reviewing undeveloped properties, which may also be some of the sites we'd be looking at for the impact that, any new proposed work might have on those properties.
Right.
So, we're trying to preserve slopes and drainages and all sorts of other different things with the NFP. NFP is kind of like the historic district for the natural world.
Right.
It's a separate committee that looks at things very carefully from the point of view of natural features, and then makes a decision about whether or not this can go forward, or if it does, what are the conditions that have to be met for it to go forward. And I would see that or site plan reviews being a natural place for this to fit into that context.
Most of the projects that have been stopped are projects that got going without this kind of a review. And then most of the times that this kind of process is implemented, if something is found that's significant enough to really stop the problem. Here I'm thinking of like the African burial ground in New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to find something like that at the front end of Florida.
Right.
You want to find something like that on paper with careful exploration, and then you can alter the project to take it into account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Question.
Yeah, Pam.
Is the current planning process for projects, you said site plan review, is there the equivalent of an environmental review?
Oh yeah.
There is.
Well, it depends on, and I don't know what you mean by environmental. If you mean environmental in the way the SHPO uses it, yes, there is, because I'm involved in a lot of it.
I mean, in the way that the National Park Service uses it, or that the NEPA, is it NEPA?
It's NEPA.
Yeah.
NEPA.
The way it's used there. I mean,
NEPA actually has more teeth than Section 106 because NEPA also deals with human environmental quality of life and the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act as well. So NEPA actually has more power and teeth than Section 106 does. But
is that just limited to federally funded or permitted projects like 106, or does it go further?
No,
I'm not talking about.
It goes further. But it goes further, but it's complicated and messy, but it can go further. Yeah.
I was just thinking in terms of placing a review like this somewhere in the process. But the more important part is getting the ahead of the bulldozer work done, which I think is what David is proposing.
And that's part of what will be used as when we get the survey done. That's going to be one of the documents that will be consulted when they get when they have a project come in. That will be part of what site plan review will use as one of their very early reviews. They will be asking the coordinator to comment on it specifically in light of the survey. And so the archaeological might very well be another facet of that. I can't say exactly how it would work out, but our site plan review team is very thorough. It's an internal committee to the city. Any new projects that come up that are going to change the shape, the footprint, and in some cases the use of the property have to go to site plan review, whether it's in some cases just a small addition, sometimes if it's something larger. The whole graphics packaging project where they're building new buildings out there. It's going to be one of the largest paper pulp product companies in this part of the state than we've had in a long time. That's been going through a very intensive site plan review. It includes fire. The fire marshal is there, water, sewer, the natural features people are there. I'm there in a lot of the meetings just to comment on, and we all get the plans in advance. We all make our comments on them. And then sometimes my comment is no comment because it's not disturbing in an area that has been identified as potentially historic. That might change once we had an archaeological overlay to look at. So, I mean, the work that's planned down by the river clearly is something that we're going to want to look very carefully at because that was a real crossroads for the area. So, yeah, so I think that so far I haven't gotten an unfavorable response, but they do want some more information about how could it work and how would we go about assembling that document. And like I said, that might be something that would be worthwhile for the city to pursue after we're done with the survey, is possibly getting a CLG grant to create that kind of a document for us.
Kalamazoo has the potential to use all the CLG grant money that comes into the state right now.
I'm good with that. Well, the thing is that other people aren't applying.
Yeah.
You know, or they don't have the
That's fine with
capacity to
me.
make it work. So, you know, we'll do what we can and kind of take the lead. And then once maybe we'll inspire other people to move on and to do the same sort of
Hey,
thing.
David, what's an MOU?
A memorandum of understanding. That's usually between
MOU.
government agencies and a memorandum of agreements with a government agency and a non-government agency. And it basically is like a contract. We'll
Does it make-
do that. Usually have deadlines and often they have a budget as well, but it's the
Memorandum of understanding?
Correct.
Memorandum of understanding and then
Contract.
becomes memorandum of agreement.
Right.
Yep. Well, unless there are any objections from other commissioners, I mean, I fully support this. And, you know, when I, well, have you met and spoken with Christina about this yet?
Yeah, just informally. Yeah, so far just informally. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I would be happy to kind of support this in my meeting with her coming up as well.
Yep. We're looking at possibly being able to be back in the office beginning in mid-April.
Okay.
Don't know for sure. Still probably going to be doing some work from home. And this is the sort of thing that if we were in the office, I would just wander next door to Christina's office or to Jamie's office that handles the natural features protection, and we would just chat for 20 minutes, you know. But now you have to make an appointment to do that kind of thing. And I'd rather kind of keep it in an informal phase right now, but this is something I think that I think this is the last piece of the puzzle for us to start including. Besides diversity and inclusion, all the other things we're working on so hard. But I think this is you know, in terms of how we handle changes to the city as a whole, I think this is an important part.
Does it make sense to make it a work plan item and ask David to provide an outline?
I think that it's under designation for now, and we've called it out a little bit. I would say maybe that's something, once we have an idea of what direction we want it to head, that might be something to add next year.
Yeah, I agree. David,
But we'll do a lot of the groundwork on it, exploration now.
Yeah, I think by the time you're ready to put it in as a formal work plan, we have to have some idea of how the city's going to react and implement it.
Exactly.
okay. Are there any other questions or comments or anything about?
I guess my only question is,
Yeah,
what is the requirement of the commission, of this commission? What are you requiring of us for you to move forward with your?
Really, at this point, nothing. This is just a matter of just doing some more exploration and just reporting back on kind of the feedback that I get from other planning department staffers. Maybe even a little higher up in the administration. And this is where I think actually getting the information from the ground penetrating radar of the mound might be very useful, because that will illuminate to people what we always suspected might be there and what actually is there. That'll illuminate the fact that there's this whole world below ground that we only approach occasionally.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I would basically say that the process of initial archaeological discovery has changed radically in the past 5 and 10 years.
Yeah.
There's not a week goes by that I don't get an invitation to participate in some sort of seminar or webinar where somebody's adopted a new piece of mechanical equipment to be basically looking underground without popping holes in the ground. And well, you might not know exactly what you're going to find down there. You have a pretty good idea before you dig nowadays that there might be something there.
Yeah.
I saw last week a mention in one of the National Trust forums that someone was using an iPad that had come equipped with LiDAR.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We live in an age of miracles. We just do.
Well, I'll be happy to work with you, Sharon, and when you set up a meeting with Christina or Rebecca, whoever you want to talk to about this, and then we can find some time I'll do some looking in terms of people who have worked in smaller cities as well as the larger ones.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments for David? All right, thank you, David.
You're very welcome. I look forward to working with the commission again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh man, now everything's out of order. There we go. So approval of meeting notes. First, approval of our February 10th meeting, and then we'll move to the work plan. I didn't see.
I don't know. I think we need to add the president's name that Guiteau shot. I don't know, it was probably in the gentleman's report. I had that called up and I lost it, but Charles Guiteau preached at the Baptist
Garfield.
church, and it says it and murdered a president. I think parentheses James Garfield might wrote that. It's
That
kind
was part of the hearing.
my old history teacher's hat.
Anything else?
Okay.
All right, motion to approve the meeting notes from February 10th, 2021 as amended.
Move to approve the amended notes from February 10th.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and the work plan meeting notes from February 24th.
Those look good to me too.
Yeah, those look fine to me.
Mhm.
Anybody have anything? Okay, call for a motion to approve the meeting notes from the work plan meeting on the 24th.
Motion to approve the meeting notes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Coordinators reports. Sharon.
So, things are getting a slow start in terms of the historic district, although we do have a meeting coming up next week that will include a demolition by neglect finding, or at least exploration, and an addition to a house in the West Main Hill Historic District. So additions and new construction in a historic district are considered to be a sign of a healthy district. So this is a good thing. This means that people are buying into the district and ready to work with it. So that's a really good thing. We lost 4 houses in the last 5 weeks, lost or severely damaged 4 houses in the last 5 weeks to fires.
Yeah.
The one I mentioned at 814 West South, there was also another one on the west end of Rose Place. There was another one on Park Place, and there was one on Westnedge between McCourty and Pioneer Street. All were damaged by fire. I know that the South Street one is going to be considered a complete loss. I have not had an opportunity to investigate the other ones yet and find out. And I talked to building official, and he doesn't yet have the reports on them, so he doesn't know. He was visiting one this morning. So I hopefully will have more of an idea there. But that's a lot in a short period of time. So I'm hoping that this is not something that continues. And
Suspicious?
pardon?
Suspicious?
Don't know. I haven't heard anything from any yet. I know that there were no injuries or deaths.
Yeah, but I mean, those are, I know the one on South Street, that was like a big house, older household.
Well, but it had been completely gutted and rehabbed in 2009.
Yeah.
So the outside was an old house, but the inside was almost totally new.
And then then there was another one that burned, because I'm on the American Red Cross, and I'm thinking, good Lord.
Yeah, I know. It was like another one, really? You know? So yeah, and it's I hope this does not continue at that level. That would be really bad. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with those. And I'll have a little bit more of a report next month, kind of a follow-up on what happened with them. 516 West South is under contract, so it is already sold.
Okay.
And that's that wonderful picture I have there. And I noticed when I was at work yesterday, last week actually, that both the bridges in the Hilton Garden Inn are in place. The one over Rose Street is complete, and the one over Eleanor Street has the framework in place and has not yet been enclosed.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was driving the other day.
Yep.
You can't miss it,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yep. So that's about all I had for this meeting, for projects that are ongoing or whatever. I had a really fun time driving around with the people from Kramer Design Group and showing them Edison. They just had a great time. They've been really studying maps and historic sites. And like I said, I probably put almost a gig's worth of stuff into their Dropbox that they could work with, previous reports that have been done and that kind of thing. So
Sharon, for the Gibson building,
Mhm.
I mean, I've read only the stuff that's in articles. Have you seen any of the planning stuff for that?
The drawing that I included is their proposal for right now.
Okay.
I have been on and off in direct communication with the team, the design team. They are using the tax credits.
Okay.
So
That's what I was curious about.
I mean, the last time I saw this design, if you see behind where the stack is, that's actually the largest body of the hotel. And the last time I saw it, that was almost completely a glass box. And now it really is toned down a little bit in the, reflective facades. It still is very clearly a 21st century building, but I think it just echoes a little bit the Gibson building itself with the banks of windows. So Rob McKay, who used to have my job here at the city, by the way, he's the architect that they're working with at the State Preservation Office. And he's really being quite firm about the fact that, if this is going to be a tax credit project, then you need to dot I's and cross T's, and they seem to be they're willing to go along with it for this one. So I'm good.
Okay.
I think that this could be a real game changer for a lot of the North Side. If it's successful, this is going to bring more attention to the vacant spaces and the existing occupied spaces on the north side and make it a more desirable place for further action. Because the north side has lost close to 40% of the buildings that were there 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Are you taking pictures, or is somebody taking pictures of this before so we can do it? Because obviously, if it comes out really nice, it'll probably be one of our nominees for the award.
Oh yes, I've got a bunch of pictures. We've got some historic photos, and
Yeah, it's very photographed.
yes, it is.
There's lots, yeah.
And
It
even
is.
if we didn't have them, there are legions of people who visit the building to go on tours who are Gibson aficionados. So
They take pictures. One of the most common questions I get is, well, people, they stopped asking whether the smokestack is coming down because it has been taken apart cautiously and carefully and will go back.
Mhm.
But I don't know, for those of you who are newer to the commission, back, what is it, like 2015 was it, I think, or 2016? I got a panicked call from Chris Wright, who at the time was working for Peter Carroll doing window rehabs in that more modern building that's there on the left, because that was all broken up into little maker spaces, small businesses. And he said, there's a demolition crew here and they're looking to take apart the Gibson stack, the smokestack. And I quick checked with my database and I said, they don't have a demolition permit. And I cannot imagine that a 70-foot tall brick structure that's right over their boiler and gas system is going to be just knocked over willy-nilly without having a demolition permit. So I called our chief building official right away, and he went over there and he just kind of put a stop to it, right, Johnny, on the spot right there. He said, no, this is not going to happen. And then they made their case for why they thought it needed to be demolished. The new owners had seen a report saying that it was unstable. It was the stack was rehabbed completely in the mid 1990s by Blair Bates and Building Restoration. And at the time, the one final step was that they needed to put a liner in it because the fumes coming off of the boiler were caustic and had caused damage to the smokestack. And that once it was fixed, if they put a liner in it, it wouldn't happen again. And they didn't put a liner in it. So that's the whole story about what happened there. But it was stopped and then it was very carefully disassembled. They did need to leave it in place up to about the O of Gibson because it is still the active smokestack for the boiler that heats the entire building. But they had turned the boiler off and were heating the spaces with gas-fired, what salamanders are?
Mhm.
yeah.
They're just gas-fired heaters. And there were health issues happening because of burning in enclosed spaces. It was quite a challenge, but I have to say Plaza Corp stepped up and they took the advice, and I think that was part of what made them realize what a treasure they had there, and that it was more than just empty spaces to be rehabbed into, offices or apartments or something. They realized that they had something very unique here. So I'd say so far I'm very pleased with what's happening here and how it's being handled. We'll just see where it goes from here. I hope it comes to fruition in the way that they are currently planning it.
Me
Okay.
too.
Thank you, Sharon. Citizen comments on non-agenda items.
Pam, sorry.
Go ahead, Pam.
For those of you who are not on the Michigan Historic Preservation Network's monthly newsletter, I want to let you know that the conference is happening 2 months from right now. It'll be virtual again this year. I'll send you all a link tomorrow. I think the Preservation Commission still has a policy where it reimburses for attending, and you can do it from home again because it'll be virtual. This year's title is Connections, People, Pathways, and Preservation. And I've seen a preliminary, I haven't seen the most recent version of the conference brochure, but I will send you the link. You can look at it. It's from May 11th through the 15th. And there are, I know for sure, a couple of pre-conference sessions, and there might be a post conference session or two as well.
Yeah, the post-conference, one of them is going to be the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions
That's
will be
right.
presenting their Historic District Commission training through the Commission Assistance Mentoring Program, which is
Camp.
the train PAMP, which is the one that I go and train for sometimes. So yeah, it's for historic district commissioners, it's really, really worthwhile. And it's even, it's a substantially reduced cost. So if any of you are interested in going to it, just so you understand how districts work and how they make their decisions, it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. I just did remember something, Pam, that I had forgotten to say. Just yesterday, day before, I got an email. It was Monday. I got an email from the State Preservation Office about the tax credit. And they made it very clear, two things that I did not realize. And first of all, that the threshold for spending on an owner-occupied home is only $1,000.
Right.
There's no longer the 10% of your state equalized value. It's $1,000.
Makes it a lot more accessible.
Which you can do in one weekend on an old house and no problem at all. Yeah. And the other is, however, they will not be accepting retroactive applications. Okay. So I'm telling people that if you have something you really want to do, if you can put it off a year, you may be able to use the credit.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that they would take retroactive applications, but they made it very clear that they will not accept retroactive applications. The earliest we can expect the application materials and the process to be in place is probably going to be January 1st, very possibly as late as June next year.
Okay. That's good.
Next year.
Next year.
Good to know.
So I'm putting stuff off. I'm going to work on the deck. I'm going to work on the non-historic parks, but yeah.
Okay. Any other citizen comments on non-agenda items?
There were no citizen comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioner comments? All right, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All right, thank you.
That beat me.
Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.